Huge topic.
Something that a lot of Instagram gurus are very good at, apparently. But they're still living in their mama's basement. I don't know.
Welcome to the Top Contractor podcast, the show that highlights the remarkable individuals who are shaping the construction industry and pushing its boundaries with engaging interviews, expert discussions, and real-world stories of success and challenges. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. I'm here with my co-host,
Nate Swank. Good morning, brother. Good to be
Good
with
morning, man. Early morning for you over on the other coast. You know,
you. Usually I get to sleep in till like 8, and it's 6 right now. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're bright and early over on your coast doing it. I got a hurricane on my coast, but we're still here. So we're still doing this. Today we got a great topic for the audience, but before we get into that, Nate, explain the show a little bit for them.
Yes, sir. So we got 3 styles of episodes on this podcast. Number 1 is a deep dive into a specific topic. That's what we're doing today. We bring on expert guests for interviews. And the third one is where we bring some construction news topics and discuss those and figure out how they're going to impact you as the contractor or the consumer of a construction product.
And today we are in our...
That flowed pretty good. I got that one down now.
Yeah, we're getting good. We're getting good at this. We're getting the hang of it. For you guys that listen out there, we are working the kinks out of this podcast, and we apologize. We missed maybe a week, I think, or something in between, and stuff getting launched wasn't on a consistent day, but we got all that figured out. So we will be launching every Friday. So you guys will get these every Friday, expect them every Friday, because we got the kinks worked out. And obviously in any new show, you go through little bumps in the road here and there, but Nate and I have an expectation for the show. That's why it's going to be the number one construction podcast of all time. And today we are talking a very important topic within your business. Nate and I went over kind of our own notes with each other. We got a lot of goodies for you here. Nate,
some
what are we
big
talking?
nuggets.
What nuggets we talking today?
We're talking about growing your revenue.
Huge topic.
Something that a lot of Instagram gurus are very good at, apparently. But they're still living in their mama's basement. I don't know.
Living in mama's basement, selling AI now. They were selling crypto before that, and then they were selling NFTs at one time too. But we're not going to sell you any of that. We're going to sell you how to...
Everybody knows a weenie when you see one, huh?
No bozos, no shows, Nate. You know the rules on this podcast.
Yes.
So we're not Instagram gurus. We just run businesses. We run successful businesses. We're growing businesses, and that's what we're here to talk to you guys about today. So, growing your revenue, Nate, what do you got on your end? Because your notes, I was reading your notes, and there's some huge points with your stuff, and I'll kind of chime in with what I got too. But let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. So sorry, audience, if you're watching video, I keep looking over. I haven't figured out how to add the notes into my
He's got 2 screens. He's fancy in that office. He's got 2 computers. 3. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're
like
ever
a stock trader.
if you're estimating jobs, pro tip right here. You need like 2 big screens, like 2 42-inch screens. Boom.
That would make my life a lot easier. That's a good idea.
No more printing plans.
There you go.
All right. So essentially, if you are struggling scaling your business, if you're struggling growing your revenue engine, it breaks down to 2 things: your sales and your structure. Okay. You need to produce more sales. Sounds easy enough, right? Duh. No kidding, Nate. You got to produce more sales. No shit. Okay. We're going to break it all down. And then you need to have the structure to support those sales, right? Your company can't only be strong in sales and then weak in production and weak in project management, because that's where the roller coaster comes in, right? That's where you see guys do 10 million one year and then 6 the next, because they're selling and they're not constantly, well, the same guys selling then go to helping perform the work or helping manage the work. And then guess what? They're not selling work those months because their guys are back managing it.
Mm.
Okay. So, there has to be a big separation between sales and operations. So sales and structure. Structure is what I see the operations and the back office. So
And so let's go into the sales end of it, right? How do you get sales? We're talking about building revenue and so on too. And what I had noted on my end too is obviously good customer service, good customer relationships usually lead to more sales. So, when I say good customer service, that's obviously going above and beyond. Nate and I are you're going to hear us preach about this all the time. Going above and beyond for your clients, doing the right thing, following up, communication's key. Over communicate to the clients too. Every client that I have has my phone number. We all have good relationships. All we have, where I have friendships with each and every one of my clients too, and so it's building those relationships, going above and beyond, and doing outstanding customer service, which is more than likely going to lead to referrals. Referrals is a big source of our business. We have currently 13 houses going up, and we strive to try and make each one of those customers refer us to a friend, because hopefully every single one of them has quite a few friends that are wanting to follow them down to Southwest Florida and build a brand new home. So who are they going to refer? The person that built their house, unless it's a bad customer experience. So wanted to touch on customer experience first on the sales end. Then Nate, you can go a little deeper into the sales end too, and what you're doing too, because you're building your company now. So I want to hear what you guys are doing.
yeah, and we've been like, once I started taking this whole thing serious over the last 2-3 years, we've been consistently doubling in revenue every year. And and I know that the years that we've had bumps, and I can tell you why, and that's what we're going to break into. Um, so really, with the sales, again, major separation, your sales and operations. You got to have dedicated people just selling, not doing operations, not just selling, right? Or if they're doing both, then you got to have more people, because you always have to be producing a certain sales number a month, right? And here's how I break all that down. A little side note: what gets measured gets managed. Okay, always remember that in your business. What gets measured gets managed. You should be measuring and tracking every metric in your business. And the main question here is, are you, as a contractor, are you tracking your sales on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis? And not only your sales, but your estimates. How many proposals have I sent? And then on those proposals, what's my closing 90 days? Right. And that's a category, what of these bids, based on conversation with the contractors or clients, right? Because we're a sub, based on conversation, which bids have like an 80% and higher chance of closing within the next 90 days? Move those to that category in the spreadsheet. Now you can track your revenue. Okay, how long does it take for those jobs to get started? Right? Planning, etc., whatever it is, drawing phases. Now you can predict your revenue. You can predict your sales. Hey, in 90 days, we should be closing on $1 million of work. Oh, so that means in about 180, we'll be billing half of that, or whatever it is, right? You could break all that down. Now you have a system. Now you have a process. Okay. So that's one thing. And then also, do you know how many jobs you have to bid in order to close a certain amount of volume or percentage, right? I know my close rate and my company's close rate, between me and the two other estimators I have. Our close rate is anywhere from 17 to 24%. And it varies because it's not always dead accurate depending on when I'm adjusting the spreadsheet. Um, but it's right around there, which that's a decent close rate. So I know based on that, hey, if I want $1 million of work awarded a month, I got to bid right around 4 to 4.5 million. And then you're just now you've made the plan. Now you made the process. Now you just do the work. Okay. Um, so anything to add there, Billy?
Yeah, and just so the audience knows too, so Nate and I, where you guys are going to get a lot of tactical stuff, we're also different. Our companies are different too. So, Nate's more B2B, I'm more B2C, as far as our sales end, because you're not really dealing directly with, you know, the customer, the buyer. You're more dealing with the contractor, correct, Nate?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nate's going to give you kind of more of the tactical on that, and I'll kind of give you more of the tactical on my end. And back on my end, too, another thing that you can increase your sales or your referrals with is one thing that we're doing on our end as a home builder is we're utilizing our resources. Like when I say that we're doing, we're going to our architects for referrals, we're going to real estate agents for referrals. We're working, with that system of people. For example, I'm a licensed real estate broker. I've formed a lot of relationships over the last 12 years of me doing real estate, doing it the right way, helping out other agents, so on, to where every time I deal with these other agents, I say, hey, if you ever have a customer, you find them a lot, they want to build a house, send them our way. We'll pay you guys for it. We'll give you a referral fee. So you start working that ecosystem of people too, on top of my architect, where I say, hey, you're drawing a plan, because a lot of people go straight to architects for plans,
Mm-hmm.
and they're building a house in Naples or Marco. Send them our way so we can bid it. So you're utilizing those outside resources, utilizing your network of people that you've formed over these years to create more revenue, create more sales, create more leads, to where you can make more money within your business. So that was one thing I wanted to add. Another thing, kind of bouncing off of that I was thinking of too, is I run a separate home watch company. So on the building end too, we do, estate management or whatever. On our end as the builder, we always offer to our clients, our past clients, hey, because a lot of them aren't here most of the year. They're here 6 months out of the year. Their house sits vacant, without anybody. They need somebody to check on it. That's why home watch is popular here. But by doing that, you continue the relationship with them. You consistently are checking in with them on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and maintaining that relationship so you continue to stay top of mind as well. So that's how you're still driving revenue. If they need anything done, you are their resource to where you can continue to make money as well and charge a fee on any kind of maintenance item that needs to be done. So you always want to think of ways that you can continue the relationship with the client down the road that's going to continue to bring in revenue to your company. And those are just a few small ways as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all the birds of a feather flock together, right? So all your
Mm-hmm.
clients, they all have friends. Oh, we want to get a house built on Marco, and they're out drinking or cutting it up. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we use Billy, and then the wives are talking. Man, Billy is so good looking. Damn, too bad he's not single. Ah, oh man,
Yeah, I just lost the business right there, because the husbands get jealous and they're like, "We're not going with that guy. We're going to go with the ugly guy
he's
then."
too good looking. Yeah, we're gonna go with a fat contractor. Oh, bad. Um, let's see. Oh, okay. And one more thing on sales to watch out for. So again, sales structure. Make sure you're not overselling your structure of your company. And if you do, here's a little hack that's literally saved my business from going out of business is subcontractors. Subcontractors is a huge little gold mine to use as a fellow subcontractor. Sub out other jobs, right? Figure out what aspects of your jobs you can sub out. And then instead of having that payroll expense that week, you can net it out 30, 45 days, whatever your payment terms are. Okay. And there's no risk and there's no liability, or very little, right? You always deal with a license sub, though, of course. Um, so that's a hack. Like, we've tripled our monthly billing this year, and we've had the smallest amount of workforce we've ever had. So our
Mm.
costs are the lowest they've ever been, and our revenue is the highest it's ever been. How the heck does that make sense? Because I'm using subcontractors, and I'm doing that so that I have more cash in the bank, more cash in the bank, and then I can make capital investments in the company strategically. Because what'll end up happening is, you know, you have to think about. I just had to find my note. I put it in the wrong spot. You got to think of the cost of scaling, right? Doubling revenue every year sometimes doesn't make sense, because you're likely not going to turn a good net profit number if you're doubling revenue that year, if you're self-performing, because you're having to make capital investments. I mean, some of the guys on here in TCS are pavers. How much is a paver? Just from conversation that I hear, they're like close to $500,000. If you're doubling in revenue and you have to spend $500,000 every other year on another paver, you're eating up a lot of your profit doing that. Now, if you can sub it that all out and make a lower profit margin without having any of that cost, that's the way to do it. So it all just depends on how you market yourself. And some people might think, well, as a sub, how do you get away with subbing it out to somebody else? Well, because they don't communicate as well as we do. Maybe their standards aren't as high, and we kind of elevate them to our level. And that's why they're not in a good position where they are, right? That's why there's not that client initially going to them versus us, because we have a better brand and reputation. So little hack there.
I want
And
to, Nate, I want to go into with you, because you touched on it. Like the last, 2 years, you've been making good revenue. Your company's been growing. You've been seeing a whole change of trajectory with your company. Talk about that a little bit, that journey, because it's kind of we're given tactical stuff too, and we'll go back to that. But I just want a real life, kind of what you've done to get to where you are today. Because, a couple of years ago, there was a little, and with your story and everything too, there was a few bumps in the road, but now you've kind of got it figured out to a point. I mean, we never fully have it figured out, but you got it figured out to a point to where you're in a better place. So talk about that a little bit.
yeah, a lot of it was focusing on one of these two things, right? Again, my whole thing with this podcast and what I'm trying to explain to you guys is there's two main things, and that's it, right? When growing your revenue, there's two main things: sales and the structure. Don't just look at growing your revenue as sales. That's what I did. And also, I had no structure.
Yeah.
If you're a subcontractor or even a general contractor, I know that making an expense on a project manager or a salesperson that makes 100,000 or more a year is very scary. Guess what? Do it as soon as you freaking can. It'll make your life easier and your business will skyrocket. Like me bringing on a PM and a sales guy, I'm thinking like, shit, I should have done this from day one. I would have rather been like living in a tent, right, for the first year and had that locked down, because it just moves the ball so much faster and more efficient. Okay, because you as entrepreneurs, right, we want to just handle it. Oh, we can work more hours, we can do it. You can't. There's only so much hours in the day. So get that structure down before you start to scale.
I, on And I agree with you too, because I think what popped in my mind, I obviously am operating, it's a family business, and our growth is within the last 3 years, 4 years has been huge, and the differences that we've kind of figured out. There was that old school mentality that we used to have, and uh, my dad had to where less people, more operations kind of go through him as the owner. Um, I don't want to call it micromanagement, but it was close. I mean, it was everything kind of had to pass through him. He had to know what was going on. There wasn't a lot of just trust your people, hire more, get more bodies in line to kind of cover the work volume. And then it also restricted us in the amount of houses that we took on too. When
Yeah.
I finally got more of the ownership role within our company, 20 years later, whatever it's taken, it we I went more towards let's hire more, get more bodies in line so that we can take on more work too, because the mentality we used to have was, we can only do 10 houses. That's it. That's our max. If anybody comes to us, we'll say, no, sorry, come back in a year, come back in a year and a half, and then check with us. Well, a lot of people don't want to wait a year, year and a half. So you're losing that opportunity by doing
No,
that.
nobody does.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Especially if they're retired and have that cash sitting around, they could be dead in a year and a half. They
yeah.
want their house done.
Yeah, so that was the problem, and it would always drive me insane when I would have to tell people, that hey, we're too busy. So I switched everything to, along with my brother talking, just we talked it out, and then we're like, okay, what do we need to do to consistently take on this work without turning people down, to increase keep revenue coming into the company, be able to pay more employees, and do this. Well, hire, hire the right people, put the right people in place that can help us be able to not run around like chickens with our heads cut off, pulling our hair out because we're way too busy. So that's what we ended up doing. We hired more, like Nate was just talking about, getting the right people in place, the bodies in place, and we weren't just hiring to hire either. We were hiring the right people that fit in with the team, the culture, and it's made a huge difference. And we're hiring again right now. We're trying to find a laborer because our current laborer we're going to bump up to superintendent, which he moved up quick. But it's that's kind of the mentality now, going off of what Nate said, and it's huge. It makes a huge difference in your company having the right people. Don't be afraid to pay your employees. That was one of my top things that I was going to cover too, is compensating your employees, doing, paying them right for what they do. Don't be afraid to compensate your employees, because it's gonna drive your company big time.
Yep, for sure. One thing you hit on too, which you'd probably hear this from tons of contractors, right? Like, oh, I was big once and then somebody burned me, or this employee
Hmm.
left, and then, or they're like, I just don't want to deal with the headache anymore. Okay, like it should, to some extent, be either staying as difficult or getting a little bit easier as you're scaling, right? The problem should be a little different. And right, people are broken. Nobody's perfect. So you're going to get somebody who might burn you. That's part of the deal. You just keep rolling.
Hmm.
So, it's silly when people pull that card. It always cracks me up. It's like, I don't care what you were doing. What are you doing right now? You know what I mean? Sounds like you had one hiccup and you didn't keep evolving and innovating, and now you're back down to five guys and that's it, because you couldn't wrangle the beast because you didn't have structure. That's all it is. You had the sales, but you didn't have the structure. So
Yeah,
watch
well,
watch
let's
that ego.
go into, you said they didn't innovate, so let's go into innovation, because innovation is a huge topic within growing your revenue. I mean, you obviously, and you're doing a really good job at it, is content, is using more technology. training employees, doing all these things that technology can offer is huge to your company too. Utilizing social media, which a lot of contractors still fail to do. There's more of them doing it now, but there's still a lot of them that don't want to touch social media, which is crazy to me because the success I've been doing it for 4 years, and the success that I've had with it just using my iPhone has been massive with our company and our growth too, and the compliments, and just by podcasting too, and utilizing modern day technology, websites, updating your website. I see some builders with websites, these one page websites. It's just a picture of an old house on there that they built like 10 years ago. You got a couple tabs on top. One of them doesn't work. It sends you to an error page, and then their portfolios are just a bunch of collage of random pictures from 10 years ago. And it's just, there's no updates. None of them are doing SEO. None of them are doing these things that are going to advance your company. So what are your thoughts on that, Nate, as far as, modern day technology? Because you're killing it with the video. You're doing daily videos, teaching people how to, run their business just off a personal experience of yourself growing a business since you were 16 years old. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, innovation and technology is huge. Um, one funny thing right now is my website's been down for a few months, so I need to get that fixed. But
Calling them out.
I'm not tripping because my website's down because I have so much on social media as well, right? So once you get this stuff going and you have multiple areas, right? Website, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, all these different areas, you're not reliant on one. You know what I mean? Like my website's down, whatever. People can still Google me and find me all over social media. So there you go.
Yeah, the website thing, it's huge for us as a home builder, because I've probably modified our website within the last, I want to say, 10 years, probably redone it probably about 4 times, maybe 5. I don't know. I'm constantly updating it as much as possible, and just trying to make it as user friendly as possible, because that's like one of our main sources, to for people to go to and see our work, our portfolio, and so on too. And I'm very happy with the current website and it's optimizing your website to where it runs fast too. That's always been a big thing to me. You click on a tab, the thing moves quick. Don't let it just sit there, and the
Mm.
loading wheel just keeps on
Yeah. So
spinning.
you got to send me your website guide then so I can get that done this week.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's actually an Arte person too, and she did good job on mine. So I'll send it to you. But um, yeah, I mean, website's important. Like Nate was talking about, social media, all your channels, posting to all your channels on a consistent basis is important. A lot of people say every day. If you can't do every day, at least do a few times a week. Try and get something so they see what you're doing and how you're doing it. These things are crucial to growing your sales. I mean, in your revenue too. People are going to see what you do, who you are, and you have an advantage right now as a contractor, because not many of them are doing it. And I guarantee, if you're listening to this in your area, research how many contractors in your area are actually doing social media. See what they're posting. Look, go on their Facebook pages. Guarantee it's just family pictures that their wives tagged them in, or their husbands tagged them in, or whatever.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's not much showcase of what exactly they are doing. So you already have an advantage right there.
Yep.
Nate, I mean, here, for example, how many contractors in your area are doing as much video as you? And you're in a huge area. How many?
Um, Probably none. I mean, there's not in my vertical, at
Yeah,
like literally none.
that's insane.
Yeah,
And
and
you're in California, which you're in
yeah,
Southern Cal, which is massive, a massive
yeah, and the
market.
ones that do don't separate personal brand from business brand.
Hmm.
So you see them at like you know, on their business page posting pictures of them
You
out
just
to
froze
dinner with
up
their
on me.
wife. It's like, great. I don't give a crap about you going out to dinner with your wife. That should be on your personal brand, not your business brand. It has nothing to do with your company. Now, you want to cross over. Like I do some crossover posts like every 2 weeks, but they're still business related. Um, anyway, that's kind of getting into a whole nother deal.
Which we can talk about, what, as far as, what you should post too. I mean, my main thing with posting, I try and keep a personal outlook on my personal brand. So, stuff with the wife, kid's probably going to be on there in the future here. We got a kid coming soon. Same with Nate. And then I do some business related stuff and then some educational related stuff too. So those are kind of my power three that I focus on my channels. It works. But I mean, Nate in a massive area in Southern California to be the only one doing what he's doing, he's already got a huge leg up on his competition because he's been consistent with it. Nate, what's your growth on your video as well? Are you seeing really good growth as far as your content?
Yeah, we've only been doing it like 14 months, but we've been doing it every day for
Yeah,
14 months.
very impressive.
Um, and all of our followings have doubled and stuff. It's still, you know, it's still ticking up, but not as fast as I want. So I'm actually putting money behind some of it because otherwise it takes too long to grow organically. So we're throwing a few $100 behind it a month, or maybe up to a couple thousand once we get it rolling.
But what's going to happen, the effect of it too, like I've been doing my stuff, not as much as Nate, I admit. I mean, I don't, and I've been lagging as of late because I've just been burnt out with it because I've done everything myself. I'm in the process of hiring a video crew and everything to handle it for me. But for the last 4 years, I've done my own editing and done my own filming and podcast editing and everything. I've been up a lot of nights doing it, and it's worked though. I've had lots of people say, "Hey, I saw the YouTube channel." I got current customers asking me when I'm going to post videos about their houses to YouTube too. My walkthroughs and so on. Hey, I haven't seen you do a walkthrough on my house yet. So, my video person currently is pregnant, so I haven't been doing as much. My wife is my video girl, so she's not moving around as fast. So but yeah, it's been a huge thing for my business, real estate wise. It's been huge. I have a different approach. Even in my local market, no builders are really doing it. And then on the real estate side, there are some realtors doing a really good job with it, but then there's still a ton of realtors out of, I don't even know how many, 10,000 realtors. There's barely any even doing any kind of video marketing as well because people are so afraid of it. But once you do it and get past that point, it's like it just rolls naturally. You can usually hit it one shot, one shot, one shot. So,
Mm.
um, without getting too into detail, we'll do an episode separately on that. But online presence, make sure you're establishing one because that's going to go towards your growth, your sales growth, your overall projected revenue. It's going to help you guys big time as well too.
And if
Um,
if anybody wants, like, not to sound like an asshole, but I don't care. I'll share any spreadsheets that we have because the odds are that probably none of you are going to ask for them. Hopefully, most of you even listen to this and like put it into action. But you know, I'm never the guy who shies away from giving away the playbook because most people won't throw it into action. That's the sorry, cold hard truth. So DM me, DM the page, whatever, comment, and I can throw our revenue tracker and our sales tracker and everything in there. You know, we're open books. We're here to teach and give value. And then your guys' job is to figure out what we're saying and how all of it or none of it or a little bit of it can apply. So,
Nate, the last thing I had on my list to kind of wrap this up is I had expansion. I was going to say if your market's a little bit saturated, don't be afraid to expand into other markets, explore other markets too. We're in the process of doing that. I'm doing it in a more tactical way for our business. I just switched real estate offices to, I'm actually with William Ravis Real Estate, and people familiar in Florida with it. It's the number one luxury brand in the state of Florida. They're located in every high end city throughout the state of Florida currently. So the reason I did that is because they are the number one luxury brand in Naples. We plan on building in Naples. So what better way to get my foot in the door with a lot of top producing agents? Like I said, leverage your sphere, utilize the people around you. So I made the switch for the first time in 12 years to a new real estate office. They all are aware due to the announcement they made that I am also a builder. My brand is Your Broker Builder, which is on my business cards with them as well, and all my branding with them. So that's my way to get into new markets and keep expanding, keep the growth coming, and so on too. So there's different ways you can leverage yourself. Nate's got different ways too to kind of get to that next, spot of your where you're trying to go with your business and your growth.
For sure. I had a couple more notes too,
Yeah, what else you got?
um, like one thing on growing your revenue, right? There's a huge difference of your top line and bottom line revenue. And you need to be looking at all your financial reports weekly and monthly. A key thing that really gives us a lot of control in our business is having an in-house CFO role in the company, right? We don't outsource accounting. We have it in-house. So that's something that I would recommend. Like, how do you guys are set up with everything in-house?
No, our accountant's is a builder accountant though. He's local. So that's who we use.
But for like billing and P and
Yeah,
L
everything
and
billing wise is in house, correct. Yeah, my
yeah,
sister my
billing,
sister actually
P&L.
handles all that.
Like you could call her right now and say, email me a P&L for August, and you'll
Correct.
have it in your inbox.
Yep. Have it on my
You have
desk.
to be able to. You have that's power. You got to be able to have at least that stuff in house.
Hmm.
Like our
Highly,
CPA as
highly,
well.
highly agree. Highly agree with that.
Yeah. So you need to be paying attention to that because there's a huge difference of, oh, I did 100 million. Okay, what was your net profit? If you did 100 million and your net profit was a million, well, you worked really hard for not very much money, So pay attention to both numbers, and really the bottom number is the most important, but the top number should be driving the bottom number. So pay attention to that. And another big mistake that I made that almost put me out, and it would have put me out of business, but I leveraged the power of subcontractors to quickly pay off a lot of things that were going to bury me, and that's what saved my company. So important thing, the cost of scaling, right? Growing your revenue costs you money. It costs you money. It costs you equipment. It costs you
Mm.
management. Costs you more t-shirts on your guys, right? Everything. It costs you everything more cell phones, more fuel. Okay. So if you're like seriously scaling your company a lot, you should be looking at your budgets quarterly or at least every 6 months or every 4 months to track, hey, here's the budgeted amount of overhead that I had for this year where we've been scaling. Did I estimate that right for this year or am I way off? Right. Because sometimes you're way off. This year I did a pretty damn good job of budgeting, so I'm pretty spot on even with the growth. Like we're already a million over what we projected for our goal of revenue, and we might end up close to 2 million over is the real goal there. And you know so anyway, check that and then make sure that you have enough cash in the bank to scale. And if you don't, this will get you in major trouble and put you out of business or put you in an unfavorable situation where you got to take out a loan or a credit line at a
Hmm.
very, very high interest rate. That's what we had to do. We paid over 25% on a loan and it got us by and we learned, but you may not have that luxury. You may just go straight up out of business because you tried to scale too quickly. And, say you had 20 grand in the bank, you spent 15 of it on a new tractor, your job fell through. Now you're, oops, sorry guys, you could bleep that out. So, um, it's a serious game. You got to think strategic. You got to make sure not what is the best case scenario. Best case scenario, what happens? No. Worst case scenario, what happens? And be prepared for that when you're scaling, because it could happen. COVID, we've all been through things. I wasn't around in '08. Bill was, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was a laborer, a kid working basically on the
So,
job sites, and no clue about what was going on. Didn't care back
yeah, I
then.
was in like third grade.
You were like in diapers.
Yeah, well,
You
I
were just
wasn't
a
in
you were
diapers in
just a
third
little you were
grade,
just a
Bill.
little baby.
Gee, I was in pull-ups by the third grade, not diapers.
Last but not least, so going off what Nate said, though, don't play the big role too. I mean, I see it all the time when things get busy, especially with contractors and builders too. They got all these lettered trucks and trailers, and they're buying forklifts, and they're buying just crazy amounts of stuff, putting their names on every single truck and thing you can imagine, probably pulling out financing, high interest financing on all this stuff. Construction, my old man's always taught me this. Construction's like a light switch, it can turn off at any second. You never know what's going to happen in this business. Tomorrow we can wake up as contractors and the markets are down and this is happening. Nobody's building a damn house. So don't over leverage yourself, especially buying up everything you possibly can to play the big role. That's kind of what my old man taught us. And we've been very, uh, considerate on what we buy, the vehicles we purchase, the things we purchase. I mean, we got an old Mustang tractor still that's barely running, but we still use it.
An old
That thing's
yellow Mustang.
yeah,
Was it
yeah,
like
old,
from
old,
the '80s?
yeah, old skid steer Mustang. Yeah, it's just that thing's barely running with tires blown out, but we still pump them up and move pallets around with it, and
Let's go.
yeah, we're still baby's still running. I think it's 2002, maybe. Yeah, 2002, but we haven't
Wow.
gotten rid of it yet, and it still works. And but like I said, we don't overspend. I mean, we could easily buy F-250s and lift. I see subcontractors all the time when times are busy. They're buying all
Goofy,
brand new
goofy ass shit they do.
yeah, $150,000 trucks lifting them, and their workers are driving 2,500 Dodges and stuff like that, all lifted, jacked up. And I'm just like, and then right when this all slows down, I mean, they're selling them, they're knocking on the door for work. It's just because they over leverage themselves. So don't ever do that. Don't play the role. You're going to, the more you build your company, the more trucks, the more your name will be out there, your more signs you'll have out there as well. Just do it the right way is my advice. That's the way we've always done it too. We never get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And on that, just like another closing note in growing your revenue is check what verticals you're in, right? Like he said, the switch could come off at any point. And as soon as he said that, I'm thinking, all right, where do I have risk, right?
Mhm.
What type of jobs do I have that will turn off? And which ones do I have that won't? Like no matter what, they're pretty much always going to be running. Make sure that you have yourself in different verticals, right?
Mm.
Some of the ones that really never turn off is the high end, right? When the market comes down, the billionaires, they keep building because guess what? Now shit's on sale. And they're more strategic. They have enough cash where they can roll for a couple years through a recession and still spend money and build. Okay? And we have a few of those clients. So that's good. Another area for anybody is like the federal market, prevailing wage markets. Yes, they're a pain in the ass. They're a lot of paperwork, but infrastructure as well, right? All of that, recession or not, COVID or not, it's got to get done and it will keep rolling. So make sure that you evaluate your risks um, and where you're at, right? Don't just be growing your revenue in one and throw all your eggs in one basket.
Spot on, spot on. Good stuff, man. You got anything else, or you want to wrap it up?
No, that's it,
All
man.
right, all right.
Good
No,
stuff.
yeah, the good show. Everybody, you guys know the routine. Like, share, comment. post something. We will answer it. If you have a question on YouTube, feel free to ask us any question. DM us on Instagram or any other platform, LinkedIn. Nate and I are on all of them. So reach out to us. We're happy to help you guys. That's what we're here for, too. If you post a question, it's a good question, too. We'll put it on the show. Why not? And share the show with your friends and family. It goes a long way for us. But with that being said, thank you all for listening. Nate, we are out. We'll see you guys
All
next
right.
time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.